Hey everyone, I'm super excited to be kind of diving into what I'm calling the psychology of an edit today. And what we're basically going to do is just break down one of my personal favorite edits and weddings that I've shot. This is only a teaser and a short form of what their final short story film will look like. But I think personally, this is my best overall edit in terms of how the music works with the footage, with audio and sound effects, with the cutting, all of those types of things. So, because of that, I would really like to just take the next few minutes to share my thought process behind how I attempt to and approach editing each and every short story film that I make for each of my couples. So let's just go ahead and start by watching the video, and then we will go from there.
We gather here today to celebrate the wedding of Chris and Brogan. You have come here to share in this commitment that they make to one another, to offer your love and support to this union, and to allow Chris and Brogan to start their married life together, surrounded by the people dearest and most important to them. So welcome to all of you who have traveled from near and far. Chris and Brogan, thank you for your presence here today, and now ask for your blessing, encouragement, and lifelong support for their decision to be married.
Matthew, I'll let you play with my toy knife.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships.
I appreciate every one of you. It's the best bridal party ever!
A marriage thrives when each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not. Chris and Brogan acknowledge this with overwhelming excitement as they prepare to join hands in marriage.
Your positivity, support, and belief in me is something that everybody needs and deserves in their life. I promise to never stop fighting for you and for us, no matter how hard it ever gets. And I promise to always love you the hardest and never let you go. I love you the most.
As life will deal us unique cards, I assure you that I will be there with you through every stop and start. I promise to laugh every day of the rest of my life with you, to smile bigger every second I get to spend with you, and to love you harder and harder as life goes on.
By the power vested in me by the Universal Life Church before your witnesses, it is my great pleasure to pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss your bride.
All right. All right. So there's our edit. So from there, I guess I'll just dive in and kind of talk about the points that I've written down that kind of covers everything here in the video, as well as future edits. The different points that I've jotted down are the song and the music selection. After that would be the edit and the pacing. After that would be the camera work and the visual appeal. And then we have a lot of other little things that deal with the editing, with audio, and things that you can't actually see but are subconsciously communicating to your viewer. So, going off the first point would be the song and the music selection. So when I'm picking a song, I like to look for like meaning in the song, or I like to ask myself, better yet, what does this mean to me? How does it make me feel? As well as what emotions and vibes does this song have? And does it have more than one type of tone? And then from there, does it accentuate your footage and does it complement the story? After that, we're going into point number 2 of the edit and pacing. Does it distract the viewer or does it complement the narrative? Why do you cut when you do? Is there a consistency in your cutting? And are effects used to complement the footage, the song, and the story? Then we have the camera work and the visual appeal of this. Does each shot have a purpose or is it just filler? I think we can all say that from time to time, or even maybe more often than we like, we might just be putting shots in to kind of fill up a certain moment or portion or stretch of time in a highlight. Like you might run out of good B-roll, or you might run out of good shots of the couple together, or you might not have that much of them getting ready. And so you have to find other things to kind of fill in. And then from there, we look at, is the framing or movement of a shot trying to communicate something? And then we go back to the editing. Are there visual cues? And does adding or subtracting audio enhance the viewing experience and help tell a better story? And then one of the last few things I have written down here is invisible and subconscious cues, like emotional and tone shifts, verbal and emotional and verbal and emotional and musical transition of tone. So we'll get into all those things here as we start breaking down. So let's just, again, watch the first part of all this.
We gather here today to celebrate the wedding of Chris and Brogan. You have come.
So when I found the song many, many months ago, I think it was like April of last year, I think when it came out on MusicBed, I was listening to this song 5 and 6 times a day, sometimes more, just kind of storyboarding and blocking and setting up a scene and a picture in my head of like what types of shots and movements would really go well with this type of song. Because generally speaking, I don't use music like this. I usually use songs that have lyrics, songs that aren't overly dramatic and whimsical and, you know, very cinematic, if you will. And yet I absolutely love the song, and I said, I've got to have the right wedding to use this if I'm going to use this, because it's not like anything else I've ever used. So first, I guess just looking at the first couple of shots is trying to be intentional with using shots that match the aesthetic of the music. I like the whimsical, dreamy, almost Disney type feel to the music when we first start. Let's just listen to the music. So like already I feel like the shots really visually match and complement the music, because we have this slow push slash tilt down shot of this gorgeous flower arrangement. And then after our second shot, we go to our third shot as the music rises and kind of holds. I'm sorry, I'm probably going to offend or make a lot of people laugh if they know music terminology. I wasn't a music major, so you'll have to bear with me and forgive me. But on this third shot, as we, the music swells, not swells, but the music is just very, very Disney and magical as we push and tilt down on this shot. And then, as the music comes down, our shot carries a nice slow tilt up to kind of, again, match the pacing and the fluidity of the music. And then again, just this next shot with like the light pouring in, the shot just carries on and really, I think, complements the music. So those are a lot of things I'm doing. Again, we have lots of tilt up, tilt down, push ins, things like that. And another thing I like to do before I ever watch my final video without any of the other audio, like the vowels or the speeches or sound effects, is just watching and seeing what my final edit looks like being cut just to music. Can you get a sense of what's going on just watching the footage and having the music laid over top of it. Like without any other natural audio or ambient sound or dialogue, can people kind of follow what's going on? Can they do they get what's happening and the position, or not the position, but the general direction that the edit in the story is moving? So there's a good one. Right here, we're about to move into our first big transitional piece, or the next movement in this song. And so what I like to do here is, up until this point, we haven't seen the couple together. Actually, we haven't even seen the couple at all. And generally speaking, I love showing my couple, like, in one of the very first shots, and especially not 21 seconds, 22 seconds into what we're watching, because especially since they're the main person that you're making this for, they probably want to see themselves sooner than later. But anyways, yeah. So we get a flow, really establishing a lot of the mood and the vibes, and showing these shots of the flowers, the floral arrangement, showing what it looks like outside at the ceremony site. But again, we'll get into the transitioning and intentionality behind your movements of your shots, the order that you put your shots in, from like shot 1, 2, and 3. Are they all coherent? Like this shot connects to this shot, connects to this shot, and we've touched on all those things. Now this looks like it's a similar spot, similar vibe. I mean, we've seen all this like glassware and beautiful setup, but we've really now just transitioned to this space up here. So this shot cuts to this shot, and it ties to this shot. And again, we've already been showing a lot of the visual appeal of like, whoa, here are the vibes, and here's the atmosphere of this wedding. And we continue that by transitioning to the outside space. Here's the ceremony. Here's the flower. I mean, this is crazy. And the couple's last name was C, started with a C. So like, I mean, it was just beautiful, just really visually appealing to it. Here we are looking at it, and then the very next shot ties to it because we're now behind it and looking back at people getting ready for the ceremony. And now here we are finally at the ceremony, and since it's our very first shot, our introduction to the couple and the ceremony space, and it's also the first time that we actually see who's talking. So far up to this point, it's been about 20 seconds of somebody talking, and this is when we first see them. So what do? We just do a nice slow push and shot as if we're moving and getting a little bit closer to the action and what's going on. So I'll actually go ahead and unmute him.
So welcome to all of you who have traveled.
And as soon as he says, so welcome, we get welcomed and introduced to them at that very first moment. I could have shown him earlier and established who was speaking and any of his dialogue in here.
Of Chris and Brogan. You have come here to share in this commitment that they make to one another, to offer your love and support to this union.
But instead, I really wanted us to be introduced to them as he said, welcome. So that tone really fits in with the visual, like going back to what I was mentioning earlier, the visual cue. As he says it, we might not be consciously thinking, oh, he just said welcome, and now we're actually getting to see him for the first time. But those are the types of little things that you can sprinkle from start to finish all over your edits, and it's really going to help your, tie everything together, and your couple will probably like it and admire it, even if they don't know why or what's exactly happening or what thought process you put into it.
So welcome to all of you who have traveled from near and far. Chris and Brogan, thank you for your presence here today, and now ask for your blessing, encouragement.
And now that we're finishing this little scene, basically it's a scene in and of itself, right here. These 4 shots make a scene. And so we have the wide shot establishing, pushing in, getting a feel for our surroundings in the context of where we are. These Twin Peaks in the background, beautiful venue and location.
Brogan,
Shot of her, shot of him. And now that the scene is ending, I do a digital zoom out so that we can visually show that we are now leaving the scene and we're about to enter another.
And lifelong support for their decision to be married.
And I need to unmute the natural audio.
Married.
Matthew, I'll let you play with my toy knife.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships.
So this is another thing that in pre-production, having listened to this song over and over and over, I really got the vibe and a feel for the transitional tones, or the transitional tone in the music, the movement from one section to the next, to the next, to the next, because there's so many here. There's so many movements in this song and changes and shifts and tones. And right here, just getting the visual aesthetic for what's happening. Let's go ahead and mute his audio. But you get, just in the music, in and of itself, that there is a huge transition and tone shift just in the song. And there. Boom. Definitely a huge shift. Let's keep the audio muted. And then here's this next cut right here in the song. Very, very jarring cut, like right on time. Obviously, just a simple cut to the music and cut to the beat. But that shot was very different from everything we've seen so far. It was also a pretty unique shot, a directly over the head. This is literally probably like 2.5 minutes before this very next shot. So after I was done getting this shot, I just tilted my drone up, looked over there, and left it sitting there. But again, just looking at how the visuals match the tonal shift in the music. So this is our first introduction to the venue. We've been inside it. We've been a little bit outside of it. We were in this section earlier shooting through. We were in here earlier shooting towards the wreath, shooting towards the arbor and getting the background view on the other. I'm pointing at my screen. You can't even see my hand. But looking towards the Twin Peaks that are directly behind us at the moment. But again, let's go back and look at the camera movement and the direction. Psychologically speaking, we're not really, I guess what I'm going for here is we want to, first of all, establish, okay, boom, at the biggest drop and moment in this song so far, we get our first giant grand reveal of where we are for the entire day. So what I really liked about this is just letting this shot breathe, both of these shots, just letting them breathe, but also communicating we want to be moving towards the action at all times. So in this first shot, we are moving physically towards the venue. And in this next shot, even though we've flipped around 180 and are now looking the opposite direction, we are still physically moving towards the venue, even though we're looking away from it. So it's a continuous movement towards the venue, towards where the action is happening. And on this next cut, on this next beat, this next instrument that comes in, almost like a bell or some type of thing. Right there, we have this nice close-up cut to her ring, and then all these quick action shots of her and her girls getting ready, interacting, laughing, dancing, and just kind of building up to like she's relaxing here. The next shot, they're in their dresses and they're in their gowns and they're laughing. They have their champagne. Then the next shot after that, her mom is helping her finish getting dressed. Right there, and then we're gonna cut to the girls are now dressed. They're dancing, they're getting hype, and now all of them together. So we've really built that small little moment. So from here, from about 1 minute and 2 seconds to 121, again, we have another mini type scene before the music really, again, transitions to another tone. Boom. So again, we had our entire first section of our song. It was right up to about 1 minute and 2 seconds. And then our next one was from about 1 minute and 2 to, I think, like 1 minute and 22. So again, now that we've kind of established this, we've established like the shots we want, the mood we're going for, add in your little bit of audio. All right, cool. So we have that done and taken care of. Now this is where the song gets really fun, because if I were to draw up a visual picture of like what this song looks like, think of something like a graft where you have, it starts at the very bottom and then it slowly comes up and it crests like the top of a mountain and then it comes back down and then it goes back up and then it goes back down, kind of like a wave. That's essentially what this song is doing, but from the very beginning to the very end. I guess I can show you with my mouse. So I guess the song would be like moving forward, it goes up, and then it goes up again. Kind of just like a nice slow gradual heartbeat. It's not like up, 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 but it's this nice slow gradual. However, from the very first moment of the song to the very end, even though the song has these ups and down transitions, it's gradually always still going up. It's not just going up, down, flat, up, down, flat, up, down, flat. It's going up, down, but we're still higher than the beginning, up, down, we're still higher than the beginning, and then we get really high, and then boom, it crashes down at the very end. So again, let's get back into kind of the editing and the pacing piece of this. I guess before that, let's kind of talk about the invisible and subconscious cues, like verbal and emotional and musical transition of tone. That's kind of how I'm phrasing this. So I guess you could say it's very stereotypical, just like we're gathered here today. Like, I guess you could say stereotypical. It happens in a lot of wedding videos.
We gather here today to celebrate the wedding of Chris and Brogan. You have come here to share in this commitment that they make to one another, to offer your love and support to this union, and to allow Chris and Brogan to start their married life together, surrounded by the people dearest and most important to them. So welcome to all of you who have traveled from near and far. Chris and Brogan thank you for your presence here today, and now ask for your blessing, encouragement, and lifelong support for their decision to be married.
So this is all good, nice and fluffy, happy, flowery, colorful language of thank you for being here, thank you for supporting. We ask for continued support because what's about to happen today, the union of marriage between Chris and Brogan, this is a good thing. And we finish that idea and that thought, that sentiment, and that tone right here. We stop, we give a little bit of space to breathe, we put in some ambient audio, and the very next thing we cut to is a different verbal transition in the tone of, now that we've talked about these nice things, let's get to like the heart and the seriousness of what today is about. Let's listen to just the audio by itself.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships.
So he uses as a word that I'm really focusing on here for the edit. He uses the word challenging. So maybe not, it's not the same as conflict, but there's challenge. There's going to be a lot of hard work. There at times will be tension, conflict, stress, all the things that come with marriage. To those of you that know, to those of you who are already married, whether a long time or a little. So now that we have that, let's look at, let's just remove the visuals for a second and listen to how, now that we've gotten into a more serious tone of the message behind this wedding, and especially this ceremony, what this day is all about, listen to what is communicated and what is felt, or hopefully displayed, and trying to get the audience to feel once he finishes this part of his thought, and how the music capitalizes on that moment of, ooh, now that you said this, let's transition into something a little bit more serious.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships.
Okay, so maybe I'm just weird, but that frickin' tickles me good, okay? Okay, man, that sounds stupid. Whatever. I'm excited. This type of stuff, I just feel like this flowed so naturally. And when I first dropped it, kind of like tweaked it, moved it up and back a little bit, put it in the exact spot that I wanted, and then just listened to it, removed the visuals, and just closed my eyes and visualized what my mind could see in my mind's eye.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships.
Like, like I can't explain what I'm feeling, but like I'm getting chills. I'm like super excited. That just excites me because stuff like that, to me, it just hits, it works. And it's like, oh my gosh, that was amazing. I love that. Like I want to do that again. So here's another thing, the power of editing. Right here, this spot and this spot, these two audio clips, literally where we have the green and there's no space, like right in here where it's green, and also right in here where there's no audio. The waveforms are low. There's nothing. These two moments are actually like side by side. I just cut them out and space them together to really emphasize this moment, because without it, it was something more like this. And you'll see how much punch is taken away when you just let this moment run instead of manipulating it and drawing it out for that overly dramatic purpose for the edit.
Marriage is perhaps the greatest and most challenging adventure of human relationships. A marriage thrives when each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are.
Like, again, in this moment too, but we'll get to that in a second. So like, I just spliced those two moments together, but already it takes away so much of the force and the power behind this. I wanted us to focus and emphasize on this, and let the music also emphasize and make this moment stand out, so that when he finishes speaking, now it's the music's turn to kind of step in and dominate this moment and this part of the dance.
Human relationships.
We just emphasize that note in that moment. And now he gets to continue his thought right here.
A marriage thrives when each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not.
So again, this is where I'm like, oh, I'm getting chills. I gotta find a shot that really hits the point home that we have two conflicting ideas here. Again, this is getting into the psychological, just the idea and the very being and essence of marriage, the opposites, the black and white, just the vast differences that you can encounter in being married. Two totally different people, or even similar. You're going to have so many differences, and really just trying to emphasize that moment here. And again, these two moments were side by side before I cut them, spread them apart and gave them a little bit of room to breathe. So let's take the music away and just listen to this and see how much power is taken away. One, without the music, and then two, even when we add the music in, it's just not as powerful when it's how he spoke in person.
A marriage thrives when each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not.
I mean, like, he just skimmed over it. And getting to manipulate this here in the editing room was everything. And now let's go ahead and show the visual. Not only do we have... Man, I can't. This is why on my podcast I script everything, because I'm a rambling mess and can't contain my thoughts. They're all over. But let's now that we've spaced this moment out for everything they are.
When each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are.
And
for everything they are not.
These are two different ideas. For everything they are and everything they are not. We really want to emphasize that man, I'm blanking on words. I don't know if I'll edit this, but just the sheer contrast between the idea of being the same, but also not being the same, of all the good and all the bad. And really emphasizing that transition from you can either be this,
Thing they are,
boom, or this.
and for everything they are not. Is to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not.
And then to top it off, now that the music really matches well and emphasizes this moment and these words and the power and the meaning behind these words, visually I wanted to cut to a somewhat jarring shot or a very unique perspective.
Is to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not.
And again, this drone shot, I was slowly dropping the drone closer and closer so that we were moving towards the action. And then continuing from that shot to this next one,
Chris,
we do it again. I added a digital zoom so that we're pushing in. We're getting closer to the action.
and Brogan,
So let me go ahead and mute the music for just a moment and just to show you the visual side of things.
and for everything they are
So we're
not.
getting closer.
Chris and Brogan
Getting
acknowledge
closer.
this with overwhelming excitement as
She's getting closer to us.
they prepare
We're now digitally zooming to him. So all 4 shots back to back to back to back are all moving towards something. We're getting closer to something.
to
But
join
to what?
hands in marriage.
So again, now that we have this, let's listen to it and just see how the visuals are working with the audio, how the audio is working with the music, how the visuals are working with the music. So all 3, it's kind of like a triangle. They're all feeding off of each other. And when all 3 of them connect at the same time, like it's just beautiful.
Thrives when each partner chooses to value the other for everything they are and for everything they are not. Chris and Brogan acknowledge this with overwhelming excitement as they prepare to join hands in marriage.
So I've already explained this. I've already explained this moment and what I like about it. Now going back to our visual cues, I have this written on my piece of paper that you can't see, but I'm going to try to, I should just have like a, can I color? Like a notepad? Or draw? Can I draw something? I can paint. All right. Frick yeah. So we have the beginning of our song. This is a turn for the unexpected. Did not see this coming. So let's just say we have our graph, like I was saying earlier. Gosh, this is amazing. I don't know why I didn't think of this earlier. So basically, our song does one of these. It's gradual, and then it comes here, and then it goes here, and then we have that big drop that we just had. It's here. It sits here for a long time. Let me go back and do this again. We have the introduction of our song. Nice and, okay, let's do, gosh, bear with me. It's flat. It's flatter. Not as rising. It's not as powerful yet. And then we have that transition. And whoops, now we're kind of flat, and then it keeps rising, and then we have that moment right here where we hit with the drone footage coming into the venue. We're here, kind of flat, still rising, and then we have that next big moment, and we just kind of stay in here, and then we get to the vowels which are coming up, and then it kind of just really drops off. That drop-off moment right in here is where we get to the end of all this action. So this entire moment from like from like here to here. So bear with me if you're visual people. This moment here is where we have this sweeping drone shot really kicking things off. And then this part of the song where it dips down again is where we get to the end of all this action right here. So that's my visual, my terrible drawing and graph. But now that I've drawn that out, for the second portion of this song, because we're about halfway through, a little bit past halfway through, here, we're like right in here. We've gotten pretty high, we're kind of drifting, but then the music kind of picks up again, then it picks up again, and then there's this drop. But it's like, there's this drop, but it's like, never quite goes flat, and then it just comes up, and it comes up, and then it just keeps coming up. So it keeps coming up, and then until we get to this moment right here at the end of their vowels, right here. If it'll play.
By the power vested in me by the Universal Life Church before your
Music's
witnesses,
coming up.
it is my great pleasure to pronounce you husband and wife. You may now kiss your bride.
Oh, look at my drawing skills. That's amazing. Oh dear, I'm laughable and I should be embarrassed. But anyways, hopefully that worked. Like you just see the music comes up, and then boom, we hit that last moment right here. And then it gets even crazier. So hold on, let me see if I can do this again. Just to give you the idea of what's going through my mind as I'm like, you gotta know what your song is doing and how to work with it and to complement it with your footage. And then boom, drops off. So I'm not even sure what the point of that is, but just knowing your song and how to work with it, how to utilize it to its fullest capacity. So now that we've talked about all those things and we've talked about kind of the subconscious and the visual cues of even though viewers aren't paying attention to how you've spaced out your audio or how you're making your audio finish right before a big moment or a big cut like this, or a transitional moment of finishing a thought right as the tone shifts, your music tone shifts,
Relationships.
as we've already talked about. So now I think the last thing here that I really want to cover, take a moment here and flip through my notes. All right, let's see. So to those of you who are, again, who know way more about music than I do, when you have a rhyme scheme that's like, say, the last sentence of your of a lyric, of a line in lyrics, say the word is word, and then, okay, that's no, let me delete that. Late. Let's just say the last word of your rhyme is late, and then the last word of the next sentence is date, and then the last word of the very last sentence is gone. Your rhyme scheme would be A, B. Same thing. If it were late, and then gone, and then date, and then song, it would be A, B, A, B. Basically, just, yeah. So to those of you who understand it, great. Those of you who don't understand it, you might not get what I'm saying. But basically, this is our rhyme scheme for these lyrics. 8, 8, they're the same sound, and then gone. And if we had the same thing again for the next one, it would be AAB. So with that, we are essentially, what I've done with my cutting and my editing, and again, this is intentional, and this goes into a portion of the editing and the pacing. Is there a consistency in your cutting? Is there a rhyme and reason to it? And is not only is there a consistency, but is there repeatability? Can you introduce something to someone without them realizing it more than once? When you establish a certain pattern of your editing, can you do it on purpose for just a certain moment of your edit and then come back to it and do it again? Almost like copying and pasting the same exact cuts. So by all that, I mean this. And everything I just had up in here with the rhyme scheme of AAB or ABAB and just having that same consistency, let me go ahead and see if I can't lower the overall level of music here and just show you the cuts so that I can talk as I'm doing this. Let me see if that's any lower. If it will play.
I appreciate every one of you. Best bridal.
Oof, sound effects are still out, but all right, here we go. Ooh, that might be too low. Let me raise this real quick. Here we go. It still might be really quiet. All right, here we go. So I'm going to literally count out. I'm going to clap my hands to the beat. Even though there isn't a drum beat or anything going on for a lot of the song, you kind of like the violin back and forth like this. It's kind of like our drum. It's what's keeping the rhythm. It's what's keeping the beat. And there's also a little bit of percussion and drums in there, but not, it's kind of like a deep, like a bass almost. So now I'm going to count this out to show you everything I've been saying for the last 5 minutes and leading up to kind of like a rhyme scheme. You have a rhyme scheme in the way you cut. So for example, from this section here at 1 minute and 2 seconds, all the way to the very end of this section at 1 minute and 40 seconds, we have a rhyme scheme. So basically, here, let's just watch it and then I'll write out the visual.
Join hands in marriage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Okay, what is going on? You know what? I'm going to go ahead and mute my sound effects since that's screwing with everything. Let me try this again. 1, 2, 1, 2. Oh, goodness, I'm messing up. Sorry, maybe I should edit this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So sorry about that. For whatever reason, whenever I'm playing sound effects and stuff and I have it in full screen, it cuts out the music. So essentially, like I was showing you with the rhyme scheme, basically our first 2 shots that I really want to let breathe and help people grasp the context and the scene, the location of where we are and where the day is happening at. Those are the longest shots of this section. And they were both 8 as I counted out. Then we got into shots that were 2. Weren't they? Yeah. We had 2. I'm looking at my little notepad here next to me. So they were 2. Then we had a 4. We had a 2. We had a 1. We had a 1. We had a 2. Back to 2. Then 4. And then we had a 2. And then lastly, we finished with an 8. So you can kind of see this pattern. It's like these are the highest numbers right here. And it starts high and it ends high. I mean, like 4s and 8s, 2 8s. But then right in the middle, where we have like the quickest and shortest cuts, is where the music is the loudest and really picks up most, right in here. Right after this moment of them celebrating, and it builds, which is why we let this shot breathe a little bit more than these past couple of shots. We had a lot of 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. We had a lot of quick cutting shots. Then we let this last shot breathe because we're about to pick up the music even more right here. That violin comes in, and boom. We want to really emphasize, okay, we've really picked up the intensity of this part of the song, of this moment, so we're going to make the cuts accentuate the music and really deliver and display and express the pace and the quickness and the intensity of this part of the song. Okay, this is annoying. Muting you sound effects. So it's like an invisible dance that you're playing, an invisible visual, if that even makes sense, it's an oxymoron. You're playing this visual, invisible game with your audience by, here's your scene. the very beginning of this shot to the very end of this shot, and yet your introduction of it is long and drawn out, letting people take it in, And not only do we enter the scene that way, but there's a consistency because we exit the scene that way. Long and drawn out, take it in, long and drawn out, take it in. And the fastest stuff, when the music is most dramatic, is also the quickest and most jarring of cuts, like quick, quick, quick. So now that I've established that and shown you that pattern, we are literally going to pick up at that. We're going to replicate that, the same exact thing, as we get to the very end here. One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. The music's about to pick up, so we're going to have faster cuts. These are a little bit drawn out, and then quick, 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 quick. And then we're going to, again, let the scene end with a nice long shot that we can really soak in. 1, 2, 3, 4. Music. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then we cut. And it ends. And then one last thing I want to talk about with the music, when I was doing my little doodle draw earlier with like the music slowly going up, and then there's this long dip, but a slow, gradual rise. That whole slow, gradual rise is right here in the longest, most drawn out shot of the entire video. Right here. So not only is the music now, we've given it a break, we cut the black, we can inhale, take a breath in, and come back into the scene. And we do that with a long, drawn-out shot. And not only is it a long, drawn-out shot, but the shot, our drone is rising and getting higher and getting higher. And as we get higher, so does our music. And the violin comes back in, and the music raises and starts to swell. The anticipation. And then hard cut, boom, right there. And then, like I said, the music is rising, it's rising, and then boom, it just goes up. And we've built everything around it. And again, this little scene right here that we just played with the introduction of this shot to the venue and the introduction, the outro to this dancing shot. Really just kind of, I'm trying to think of the right word for it. It really just perfectly complements, because we're repeating the same sequence of how we're cutting. The shot starts longer, and then it's shorter, and then it's really short, and then it goes back and ends with a longer shot. So it's like long, short, long, and giving us that pattern and that consistency. And it's in multiple spots of the video. So again, it's coming back to something that's familiar. Even if your audience and your viewer doesn't realize it, you're now repeating something that already worked really well for you earlier, and now you're doing it again, but in an entirely different context, different scene, different part of the song, different footage. And when you're able to make all those things click and work together, my goodness, it's amazing and fantastic. So again, the last part, I guess, this was totally improvised by the groom. I didn't expect him to do it, but I thought, what better way to not only end the shot, even if he hadn't done what he's about to do, he dips her. And so I just made a small minor little tweak. Like if I had him dip at a different time, let's just watch it. He dips her as the last note of the violin goes down. So as the note of the music and the violin goes down, she goes down in the dip. Like right at the same time. This shot could look totally different if I just extended it and he's no longer dipping her at the same moment of the violin going down. It just feels so much different. And again, what if I moved it forward this way? And he dipped her again. He dips her too early. It's just, it hits differently. So I have a lot of those little moments in here where if I had moved the frame, the clip 3 or 4 frames earlier or later, it wouldn't hit or feel the same. It wouldn't evoke the same emotion. And again, if we really wanted to just focus on the editing portion of it and not be touching on all the other things like music and the movement of camera work and the intention and the meaning behind your movement and your framing, we could totally do that. But that would definitely have to be its own separate video. I've already been talking a lot. But yeah, that is essentially what I am looking at and trying to do when I approach each and every edit, for whether it's a 5-minute video, 7-minute, 9-minute video. And again, your song has so much impact on how you're able to build your story. I mean, I guess that's something I don't even need to say, but my goodness, I can't emphasize it enough. Like personally, I feel like a lot of people just slap a song on and they throw their footage up there, and there's just not a lot of intentionality. And again, I'm showing this because I think this is my best piece. I feel like music is working with audio, audio is working with visuals, visuals with music, and they're all just everything, all 3 and 4 pieces and elements going on at the same time are all working together to really emphasize this moment and that moment and so on. So I hope this gives you a little bit to work with, maybe encourages you or inspires you. It's got you pumped up and ready to really start looking at how to edit differently and be more engaged in your edit, be more engaged and really personalize and just bring yourself in close proximity to the music that you're listening to and looking for and using during your edit, and how you're using the audio and how you're manipulating dialogue to maybe emphasize 2 different thoughts that weren't spread apart in the original, like during the ceremony. Something that was said happened in 5 seconds, but instead you're able to chop that up and space it out into 8 or 10 seconds to really emphasize something that was said during the ceremony or during speeches. So all those things that I've covered here, like all this excites me. This is why I love editing so much and why I find it so difficult to want to give this up as I try to scale my business. But hopefully this gives you something to work with. You can come back and watch it over and over. I talk a lot, I ramble, I understand that, but hopefully you're encouraged, inspired, and are able to take something away from this and are ready to start that next edit, and looking forward to all of your future edits as you continue filming and building your business. So hope you have a good rest of your day, and I will see you next time, or talk to you next time.